Hi everyone, and welcome to the table. We're looking at Matthew chapter 6 verse 13 this week, which says, "And do not bring us into the time of trial, but rescue us from the evil one." I want to thank everyone who took time to send me some messages last week after our table talk as you shared and explored some of your thoughts about forgiveness. I really appreciated being able to hear from you and all that you were exploring. This week we turn to the next line of the Lord's Prayer, and it's a line that I appreciate a lot, like I do all the lines of the Lord's Prayer. And it's also a line that at times has caused me a little bit of confusion. Before we dive into it though, I want to take a brief moment to remind us that the Lord's Prayer is something that we can use as a guide to format all of our prayers. So far, our prayers would be formatted as follows. They would begin with praising God and acknowledging God's authority. Then they would move on to putting trust in God for our physical and spiritual needs, and then asking God for forgiveness while also being reminded to extend forgiveness to others. Then the next part of this prayer that Jesus offers for us is lead us not into temptation, but deliver us into evil. Now, the reason this line of the prayer is giving me confusion sometimes is because I know that God says that God does not tempt us. James 1 verses 13 to 14 says, "No one when tempted should say, 'I am being tempted by God,' for God cannot be tempted by evil, and he himself tempts no one. But one is tempted by one's own desire, being lured and enticed by it." So if that's the case, then why would Jesus format a prayer teaching us how to pray, asking God, "Lead me not into temptation, but deliver me from evil"? But the more I think about this line in relation to the format of the rest of the prayer, it really makes a lot of sense. In the format of the prayer before this line, we have just asked God for forgiveness. So now we ask God for a hedge of protection. It's not so much saying, "Hey God, stop tempting me to do evil things," but rather it's asking, "God, you know what? I am so grateful that you have forgiven me. Put a hedge of protection around me. Help me to walk away from temptation and evil," or asking God, "I'm forgiven, so lead me in right pathways." As I think about praying for a hedge of protection and being led in right pathways, I'm reminded of a tapestry that I saw recently when Russ had me to the country store in Mount Joy. The tapestry had needlepoint work on it that said the following: "Watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become character. And watch your character, for it becomes your destiny." I loved the concept that I found in these words. I also wanted to change the words just a little bit. Perhaps something like, "Turn your thoughts to God, because thoughts become words. Words become actions. Actions become habits. Habits become character. And in our character, Christ can be made known." Jesus gives us a format for prayer that has us asking God to help us with temptation, which really usually starts with our thoughts. And this part of the prayer is not only asking for God's help, but it's also helping us, because as we offer this line of the prayer, we are reminded and made aware that we face spiritual battles in our lives and that we need God's help and God's strength. It reminds us to continually turn our thoughts away from temptation and from evil and turn our thoughts towards the Holy One, so that through our actions and our words and our character, we can share Christ with others. In the week ahead, I challenge us to write a prayer using the format of the Lord's Prayer, and then to take that prayer and pray it every day, using it as an aid to help turn us away from temptation and turn our thoughts towards God. May God be with you as you write your prayers this week, and I look forward to seeing you next time around the table.